Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. Back for a special episode. Niki, how are you?
I'm good. We've been doing a lot of these lately.
Oh, Jesus. It's like a third job at this point.
Yeah, same girl, same.
Between my actual job and everything that's going on my Instagram page and now here on the podcast. But I'm
Yep.
not complaining because I am very zen-like from our sponsor, Mobility Movement.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
Swear to God, like this is the no BS. It's been stressful. Like the last few days, like every time I blink, like I feel like I'm getting another DM, new news. Everybody's connected to everybody. People sending me stuff, and I am stressed the F out,
Yeah.
and it's helping me chill.
Yeah.
So,
I think like for me, I think I've been talking a lot lately on the podcast about how I've been like working from home and just like for 3 months basically was sitting like a hunchback at the kitchen bar table trying to get my work done. And finally got to the point where I was like scaling WODs and I couldn't really do like hold a front rack. I couldn't really because my lower back was so tight. So using mobility movement and getting back to like PT and dry needling and stuff like that, the combination of both of those things have really helped me get back into shape. So I think people don't really realize that like when we talk about this stuff, we actually are trying it and using it ourselves. So personally, I can tell you it's been a lifesaver. I don't really think I could keep this whole like work from home thing going on with my low back the way it has been if it weren't for mobility movement. So
well,
there's my endorsement.
it's definitely helping me in that regard because I feel like I'm like constantly hunched over, like staring at my phone because I'm getting so
Yep.
many notifications.
You get tech neck? I get
Yeah,
that all the time. I hate that.
and I'm getting carpal tunnel on my thumbs from all the texting
Mm-hmm.
and posting and whatever. So that's new. But it's helping. So big props to them. And for anybody listening, you guys can get a discount. So if you go to Mobility Movement, download their app, use the code MPGA25 and you'll get 25% off your monthly or your 6-month membership after the trial period. And the monthly rate would be $745. The 6-month rate, if you are not a commitment phobe like me, would be $42.74. So you could do either 25% off MPGA to Mobility Movement. So with out of the way, Niki, crazy week, huh?
Welcome to the shitstorm.
Oh my God.
Oh my word. Every time we get back to talking, it's just like, wow, what is unfolding now? It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack mentally and yeah, altogether.
It is. It's all very intriguing to me. You got people in so many different camps right now. You got people that like, I want information right now. Like we're all locked into the information superhighway and we expect things
Mm-hmm.
immediately. And
Mm-hmm.
the decisions we're talking about, particularly at like a corporate level, like HQ, some of these are going to take time.
Right.
And I think people are being impatient and irrational about how quickly some of the stuff can come out. And then bluntly, HQ's dragging their feet on some stuff or just simply remaining silent in some areas. I think that's frustrating people. So it's a really weird place to be right now. It's like they've always been such a non-traditional corporation that, when something happens, like I said to somebody last night, I was going live on my story and I said to someone like the blueprint for this has already happened. It's called Starbucks. They went through,
Sure.
it's a little different, but Starbucks had, a couple of young black men came into their store and whoever was working for whatever reason, felt threatened or scared or God knows what, and had them arrested. And, the CEO of Starbucks literally closed the business down, not only fired everybody, but closed the entire business down to do sensitivity training, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. So the blueprint's been written for this to some degree, a little different, but, but man, it's like, I don't know, like, HQ is really kind of writing their own book and it's a weird story.
Yeah, so I think tonight's episode is going to be a lot like the last one we did in that there's a lot to discuss and there are a lot of different points to review, but it's going to be more questions than answers still at this point. So I think it's good. What I really like with our conversation, John, is just being able to bounce all these ideas off one another. And I think we have a lot of different ways of thinking about it. And then tonight, we also have a lot of questions from the CrossFit community that people have submitted to us. So even more ways of thinking about all of these issues. But yeah, we're not going to have answers for you right just yet because most of the questions we can't answer. Most of the questions are like, exactly, how is it going to work now that Dave is CEO? And I'm like, I don't know. Nobody knows. I cannot answer that. But given the fact that two really big things happened since the last time we talked. One is CrossFit HQ issued an official apology letter. And then the second is that Greg Glassman is stepping into retirement, stepping away from his position as CEO of CrossFit HQ, and the Dave Castro is taking that spot. So I say let's chat about those two things first, and then we can sort of get to the questions that people have submitted as well.
All right, which
Bean
one
is
do you want to
here.
take first? Yeah, and Bean is here.
Hi,
Bean's on the
Bean.
podcast tonight.
Aw.
Right, Bean? How do you feel about all this, Bean? You okay? He just wants to sleep. He just
He's
wants to
just
snuggle.
taking a nap. Me too.
Yeah, you and me both.
Let's start with the letter.
Okay.
Let's start with the letter. So the letter that CrossFit HQ put out there was their apology letter, and it was long. It was well thought out, in my opinion, sectioned off, covering a whole bunch of different things, from why it took them so long to say what they were going to say to the stand that they are taking. And a lot of it was very blunt, very much like, hey, we know we messed up. We know we took too long. We tried to find the right words or come up with a perfect plan, and it wasn't perfect because we didn't say anything, and you guys were looking to us for leadership, and we did not give it to you, and we're sorry. And if you haven't read it, definitely go onto CrossFit.com to read it, because there are a lot of different intricacies in there that I don't want to read the whole letter, but the response is really mixed from what I'm seeing. I mean, what did you think? What was
It
your
was
take?
it was mixed for me.
Tell me.
Well, I mean, like first of all, I thought the letter had a weird name. I'm gonna start all this by saying this is just opinion and conjecture. Like just kind of my initial
Oh
thoughts reading
yeah. Oh
it.
my
But
God.
I thought it was weird. It said, "Why didn't CrossFit say something?" Was actually the name of it. So it wasn't like, "Hey, our official apology." It's like, "Hey, why didn't we say something?" Which I think is honest. Like I didn't bother me. It's just weird coming from a corporate headquarters. There were parts of it that bugged me. Parts of it I thought, okay, this is really good. Parts of it that were just kind of dumb.
Okay.
Well, I would have been happier if they would have. I honestly would have been happier if they would have said, "Greg's retiring. We repudiate what he said. He's out of here. We're starting over. We're going to get back to you in a couple of weeks with a firm plan." We didn't. I didn't walk away with any kind of plan from this thing.
But
Like
it
I don't.
wasn't a planning letter, it was an apology letter.
I understand that, but it wasn't a very good apology, Niki.
Okay,
Like
why
and
do you
and
why do you
and Well, I think there were a number of things. I'll give you the biggest one. So I'm sitting here kind of scrolling through it now.
Yeah.
Um, they were talking about why we were silent, and that they have internal disagreements on the nuances of everything you see published online. They aim for the truth, highly critical of themselves, and they struggle to speak to the Black community because they overcomplicate the need to care and respond. How hard is it to go? We're all anti-racist. Here, I'll give you a test. Here's the test, Nikki. How do you feel about racism?
Don't like it, John.
Me either. Done. Let's issue a letter. Like that's how long that meeting takes. That's how long it
Okay.
takes. And
Okay.
they didn't do that. Like, this is an issue that you can come really fast on and say, Black Lives Matter. We support this. And to that point, they never said Black Lives Matter. I struggle with that. Their statement around Black Lives Matter isn't incorrect in its theory or even the way they wrote it. They said we care about Black lives in every respect, in every aspect of society. That's true, right?
Right.
It says we support the Black police officer who upholds justice, like retired David Dorn, as much as we cannot stand for the injustice George Floyd faced. Both
Right.
truths are possible and can coexist. All
Right.
that's true. Fine, right? I have no problem with it. That's not what the community's looking for right now.
Hmm.
All of your sponsors, all the affiliates that left, literally hashtagged Black Lives Matter on the way out the door. All you have to
Okay.
do is say the words. That's it. This is a corporate response. This isn't a manifesto. You're not creating corporate policy for the rest of forever. You're apologizing. And everyone that left said Black Lives Matter. And you can't bring yourself to say it in the apology letter. It's a hollow apology, in my
Interesting.
opinion.
Okay.
And I think that's the way it's viewed by the Black community. The other thing that's weird, there's like some weird, like, this is super nitpicky, but I
Mm-hmm.
do think it's valid because it shows thinking. They have I don't know if it's a typo, if it was intentional or unintentional, but they have moments where they capitalize Black and moments where they don't. You know,
Oh,
uh,
I bet that's just a typo.
well, but here's the thing: like when you're talking about Black as a people, it's capitalized. When you're talking about Black as a color, it's not. And
Right.
they're all over the board in this letter. And again, it speaks to we're not really connected to the Black community,
Hmm.
as well as it could be. There are a lot of unintentional things like that jump out. And again, I think that's why why I've kind of been screaming lately about we need to have more conversation, because that's the stuff you have to learn. You
Okay.
don't learn it in an apology letter.
Right.
You just don't, and that's what is happening here. Um,
I hear you.
so I don't know. I wasn't blown away by it. I appreciate the honesty of parts of it and the effort. Um, just as I was scrolling through comments and what I was seeing from people, at least, again, this is just looking at my page, not anything other than that, but I didn't see a lot of overwhelming support for it.
Okay.
Now the
I
people that
understand that. I
the,
understand where you're coming from with that.
the other part that's interesting to me, and again, it's just I'm finding this part interesting, is that people that are accepting of it are very accepting of it.
Hmm.
Meaning they're like, all right, apology done, let's move on. Like they're ready to get back into their little safe space.
Okay.
Done, let's move on.
All right.
And it's not that easy. And I think
Right. Of course not.
that's something we really have to acknowledge, is that, okay, like you can debate what's going to be next and whether this was a good apology or not apology. It's a start. I think that's great. And, that I think we do have to acknowledge, though, we all need to continue the conversation and continue to move forward and, start pulling parts out of it and let them explain what's next for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering what's next, but I'm going to give them
Right.
time. Like
Okay.
they deserve time to decide what's next and tell us what it is. We don't need to rush them.
So I have a really different viewpoint
Mm-hmm.
on it, I think. So I think two things. The two main silos in my mind when I think about this letter are, number one, they were totally screwed no matter what they said. I don't think there's a good way to do this. I think no matter what they said, how they issued an apology, whether they wrote a long manifesto or they just came out and said, sorry, Black Lives Matter, I think a whole host of people would have hated on it in one way or another. And that is like a big issue, I think, right now in trying to heal from this, not just in CrossFit, but like in America and the world, like trying to work together to move forward and to learn from one another and have these open discussions and forgive one another so that we can become better people, which is like what we keep saying. Like, don't be afraid to say something, because if you say the wrong thing, at least you're saying something and you can learn from that experience and get better. Well, no one's going to like come out and say things and issue apologies if they just get shit on right away. So it's hard for me to hear all these people being just like too little too late out of one side of their mouth, and then on the other side being like, we need to learn how to ask questions and learn from one another and get better and move forward and admit when you are wrong and do better. You can't. I'm struggling there.
No, I understand that. I don't think you're wrong. My biggest two takeaways from it is the Black Lives Matter piece. I thought
Sure.
was huge, just simply because you're trying to get the affiliates back. Like that's the
Right.
main goal, is like you want the 1,250 gyms, and that's $4 million in revenue, by the way. You want the 1,250 gyms to come back, and they all left for that reason, and you didn't tell them. And when you apologized for Greg, and there was part of the apology that was really brilliant, but they also, had a pretty big blurb about, we'll judge him by his full body of work. Like that time's passed. Once you make the mistake, you're not judged on your body of work. At that point, you're judged what happens from the mistake on, not what you did. And at least in a situation like this. Um, and so that it made it feel insincere. Whether it is insincere or not, it's not for me to judge. It's just made it feel that way. And
Yeah.
I just think from a PR and an honesty standpoint, like that's how it came off to a lot of people. But
Yeah, and for me, because I'm sort of looking at it as this moment from which we can learn, and I don't want to, like, in and of itself, that it was an apology, and that, I mean, you're right, it might be missing Black Lives Matter, but I do think that a lot of it was well written and sounded very, I know a lot of people think it sounded very disingenuous, just not genuine.
close enough.
Sorry. But to me, it sounded very human. It sounded like not a PR letter. It sounded like a person on the other end who had been gathering their thoughts. And I could kind of like relate to that in this moment of craziness and uncertainty, and the fact that my brain is scattered on how I feel about all of this. I mean, I think I had a visceral response, an emotional response, just like everyone else who's been waiting for something like this, in which I was like mad. I was like, no, like now it is too late, and why didn't you say something, and I just, that's how I sort of received it because everything has been so emotional lately. But then I read it and I was like, it reminds me of when we had Easy on the show. And I was like, hey man, like people are afraid to say something because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. And then they're judged for saying nothing. And then it's like all fucked up. So how do we do it? Like, what is your recommendation? And he gave the snatch analogy where he was like, everyone can snatch. When you first started, you might have been really bad at it and you might have done it wrong and you might have looked funny and people might have judged you, but you tried and you probably will try again and you'll get better and you'll learn from that. So I just hate that they came out with this big long thing that to me felt like they put a lot of effort and energy into finding the words. Maybe they were the wrong ones, but they did the thing. They did the thing that we've been waiting for and the thing that we've been asking them for. And to me, it was a step in the right direction in a really positive way. And it's hard to see, just like I said, just people shitting all over them because it's like, okay, well, what was the alternative? They kept saying nothing. They said just the one thing. They gave a really short letter and then everyone hated that. They gave a really long letter and everyone hated that. Like there's no way that they could have done it that everyone would just be on board. So I think you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I mean, the best way to do it would have been to do it right away, obviously, but that didn't happen. So here we are trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I completely agree with you, but I understand your point. I do think they got one part really right, and this part I think I hope everyone gets is like right at the end. They said, they acknowledged that the message was late, that it took them a while to get it out. And the two things I really liked what they did, they said, hey, take a moment, pause, reflect, and digest what we said. And I think we
Mm-hmm.
need to do that. I think we
Yes.
do need to like just stop for a minute, think about the apology, and help kind of process through what's next.
Yeah.
They also, what I thought was really kind of a classy move on their part, mentioned that they know that some of the breaks, which I'm assuming they were talking about the affiliates, but I'm sure they could have been individuals too. They knew that might be irreparable, and they wished everyone well, which again, I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was nice. And they promised to do better. And so I think from an apology standpoint, the ending was really good. And it felt sincere to me. I believe it's all sincere. And so I hope everybody gives them a little time here. Like that's the thing with, with or without the apology, it's going to take time to
Yeah.
get through the steps of what comes next. Like, like crazy, well-run organizations, no offense to HQ, but it's in a sleepy little surf town, like big, well-run organizations don't move fast to get things done. And neither will HQ on this. And they shouldn't, they need to get it right.
Right.
So, it's going to take a few weeks to, get information out of them of what's next, and who they're contributing to and who's helping, and are they going to have a board, and where's Greg going, and like
Right.
kind of
Right. Right.
all those details.
Right. That sort of is a good segue into the other big piece of information, which was Greg out as CEO and Dave Castro in. There's a lot. There's a lot of unknown around that. And I think everyone has the same sort of host of questions, which are, you know, what exactly does that mean for Dave's position? Because he was all CrossFit Games all the time, and CEO is obviously a much broader position within all the things that CrossFit does and stands for on the health side and on the affiliate side, as well as the professional sport of fitness. And what does that mean for Greg? How involved is he still? And then is this enough of a change to bring people back and affiliates back and sponsors back? And to me, those are the top three. And again, we don't have answers. So if you're looking for them, sorry.
Well, we don't
It's,
have answers, but we have history. So this, like Greg
yeah,
stepping back and bringing in a CEO, has happened before, and it wasn't that long ago. And we can tell you, didn't go so well.
right.
Like
Yeah,
it's not in his nature to step back and do nothing. Like he stepped back before, turned it over to Jeff Kane, and then he stayed intimately involved in the business. And it didn't end well for Jeff. So
right.
I think that's the question for affiliate owners: is that what's going to happen this time, or is he really stepping back and not going to show up at the business?
Right. So right now, what we know, or the information we have, says that Dave is going to be the CEO and that um, Greg is stepping into retirement. But as far as we know, Greg still owns the company. And so what that means in terms of his power, his decision-making abilities, his say in, how the company is structured or run is really all up in the air. I don't know. And from what I understand, I do not understand a lot about how this works, but from what I understand, like you can basically draft up an agreement however you want when you own a company. Like the decision-making power does not always necessarily come with the ownership, but it can. The profit sharing could come with your ownership percentage, or it might not. Like you can basically draft it up however you want it to be when you own a company, when you have other people involved. So, is that to say that because Greg owns 100% of the company, he can make 100% of the decisions? There's, I guess, a possibility that they could write up whatever legal agreement they wanted that said that he was a silent owner and Dave runs it, or Dave plus a board, or there has to be a majority rule. Like, I don't know. But I think that there are a lot of people that are concerned that with Greg still owning 100% of the company, it doesn't matter necessarily who the C-suite is or who the board is if he has decision-making power still.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the big decision making for the affiliates that left, or it'll be part of it. I mean, I work for a corporation. I've been around boards and CEOs for a long period of time, and it's pretty easy to to put a board into place and have a CEO, and Greg's doing nothing but collect money. And so then the question is, do the affiliates feel bad about Greg profiting on the business? Do they want him to not profit at all?
Mm-hmm.
There's history behind that too. I think that I think we mentioned this on the last podcast. People do that all the time. You give money to companies that you don't believe in, kind of the final person who's earning. A good example of that's Disney,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes. Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you
Walt
very
Disney
much.
was a really, really bad man. I've
Yeah.
been to Disney a ton. Like, I
Yep.
love the Magic Kingdom. I've got Disney Plus. I
Uh-huh. Same.
loves me some Star Wars. I can separate the corporation from him, and you can name other companies out there
Right.
that are the same way. So it'll be interesting to see, what kind of stance people take on that. I'll be interested to see if they put a board in place, if Dave's going to be, you know, the emperor and in
Right.
charge of everything, or is there going to be a board that's going to keep him in check? I think corporations typically run better when there's a board,
Yep.
at
I
least everyone
agree.
I've ever worked for. But they need time for that. Like, that's not a decision you just make overnight. And then
Yeah.
if you have a board, you better damn well put some diversity on it.
Yep.
I mean, that's what this whole thing, where it all started. So
Right.
there's a lot of layers to this that are, really interesting discussion.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'll be interested too in if there's a board, or maybe even if there's not, what the division at the top looks like in terms of like the sort of silos of CrossFit. If Dave's the CEO, does he still have his hand mainly in running games? Does he appoint someone else to that? Or does he appoint someone else to, or I don't know, like, are there health people on the board and then they take on the health side? Or is he sort of at the helm now and other people have to step in? That I'll be curious to know, because there's so many moving parts behind the scenes. Oh, you know what? Let me backtrack a little bit. I want to go back to the idea of the affiliates like giving their money to HQ and
Sure.
in their affiliate fee, and what does that mean for the person at the helm collecting those profits? What I'm sort of struggling with lately is, those affiliates pay $3,000 a year, right? So, or whatever. If you're an older affiliate, you're grandfathered into a different price, I think. But it's that one payment that gives you the name CrossFit. So I understand that people who don't want to stand behind this and don't want to be a part of it don't want to give that money to the organization, because I think it trickles all the way up and gets to the CEO eventually. And I get that. It makes total sense to me. But at the very same time, what I'm struggling with is when I go to my CrossFit gym, I'm not giving Greg Glassman my $150 a month. Like, I'm giving that to Dave, who owns my gym. And it's putting food directly on his table and helping him with his car payment, and not doing that. Like, I just feel bad for the affiliates who are afraid to lose the name because they're newer, or they're still building their membership base, or they're not sure they can fly their own flag just yet, because they don't feel like they're directly funding Greg as much as they're trying to run this gym to help people and just feed their families.
I had an affiliate owner reach out to me the other day, all asking for an opinion or for advice. He had some members come to him and say, if you don't de-affiliate or unaffiliate, we're going to leave,
Yeah.
and bringing
Yeah.
people with us. And I told him I'd line them all up in the gym and fire them. I tell them all, pound sand, get out of my gym. I don't want you here. Like, you're a cancer. Like, you're the business owner. You decide to run your business and how you want to, what name you want to go by. So I think
Right.
there's a lot of bad moments being created out of it.
Right.
I tell you what I'd like to see that I think would solve that on all fronts. I was thinking about this today, actually.
What?
I hope somebody from CrossFit's listening. Here's my suggestion. This is a good suggestion.
No
Don't
one
laugh at
from,
me.
I hope no one from CrossFit is listening.
Don't laugh at me. This is a good suggestion.
Okay. I'm
They
all
pay
ears.
$3,000 a year. You take
Mm-hmm.
1,000 of it, you cobble together 10 to 15 charities, and you pick one of the charities, and $1,000 goes to it. And you make sure those charities have a wide range of diverse options. So if you
Hmm.
say, if you want to donate $1,000 to Black Lives Matter, that's where it goes. If you want it to go to Jerry's kids, that's where it goes. If you want it to go to, I don't know, pick your charity, that's where it goes. So it's not going to Greg. It's going to a cause that you support and love and want to be a part of. And I think people would feel better about, paying that money in. I really
That's a
do.
cool idea. I like it.
See, you were laughing
I
at
no,
me.
no. I like
Yes.
it. I like it because it's like the other 2,000 still has to go to HQ because they have when you have a corporation to run, it's not like Greg pockets every 3 grand that comes in. Like there's plenty of costs
Right.
associated with running CrossFit as a brand. It needs money in order to live and survive, and even just to supply the insurance company that all the affiliates get their box insurance through. Like that's all related. So I get where the fees are going to, but anyway, that's just where I'm struggling because both arguments make so much sense. I hear people loud and clear when they're like, "Don't believe in this, don't stand for it, I don't want to give it my money." Fair, but I also hear the affiliates that are like, "I think I need this to survive, and I'm just out here trying to help people get fit and put food on my table." And I don't want those people to be bullied into feeling one way or another about keeping their affiliation. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents.
No, I agree with you. Like, I value the relationships of the people that coach me. I feel the same
Yeah.
way. Like, I wouldn't walk away from my coaches. Like, I want them to make an informed decision that's best for them and their family. And I feel like I'm paying them. I
Yeah,
really
me
do. Like,
too.
I want to see them succeed and be happy and healthy. And they do a lot for me. And I believe in their values. I bluntly don't, while I care, they don't, Greg's values don't affect my day to day. They just affect my feelings.
Yeah.
Saxon and Spencer, they affect my day to day because they program
Right.
the assault bike.
Right.
But they're also good. They're
I
also,
heard that. I
yeah,
heard that.
but they're good moral people, and I see them interact with people day in and day out, and I'm part of that community, and it means something to me. And so if that changed, then yeah, I'm out of there quick. But
Yeah.
I'm supporting them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. This is just hard for everyone. I want I want change because God, we need it. Like it's time and it's ridiculous that it's taken this long and for people to feel excluded or anything based on characteristics. It's just ridiculous to me. But at the same time, like I'm like, I just want to work out with my friends. I just want to
Right.
coach people and help them live better lives and really hope there's a way to bring all of that together under one
Well,
ideal
Dave,
again.
Dave gets his chance. What do you think of Dave as CEO?
Here's my thing. So I've worked for HQ with HQ for a really long time now. My interactions with Dave have always been very minimal and like games related. We're in the same place once a year for a couple days. So I've only seen him. The dude plans all year. He plans for this one event, and then it like lasts the weekend, and then it's over. So I've only ever really interacted with him and arguably like the most stressful and important 10 days of the year. And every interaction with him has always been just very professional. And he's always been super dialed in into making sure that the event's running efficiently, that the athletes are taken care of, that everything is run appropriately. And I have a lot of respect for him for what he does and for how he conducts himself. I know that he has a character that people love, hate. I think love to hate. Like I think that they like get all riled up about his like attitude and how slowly he announces things. And then, the same people who want to be keyboard warriors will swarm him in a room to take a picture. And he's definitely got like an enchanting persona like that. But I will say, even on the most stressful, busy week of his life, I have never, ever seen Dave turn down a selfie with a fan, ever in my life. He could be running, he could have a million things, people being pulled in a million directions, and someone will stop and be like, hey man, can I take a picture? And I have never seen him say no. So I have vehement respect for him for how he conducts himself with the fans. I know the athletes are his world, even though him and athletes can get into it sometimes. You know, the him and Pat thing was really funny, that way it all happened on Instagram. Like, I know that this is his baby and they are his world, and this is very important to him in this community, how we train, how we feel, what our health and our bodies do. Like, this is life. So all of that to say, I don't really have great insight into how he works or what he does, other than what I've seen in very, very minimal interactions. But I am willing to give him a chance, because I've seen him work so hard. And I think judging this before he even steps into the role would be way unfair. Nobody knows him. Like, anyone who's judging him from afar, nobody knows him. How are you going to come out there and be like, he is or is not going to do a good job? Like, what do you think? No, none of you people know him or how he works. So like, let's just see, right? Can we just
Yeah,
see?
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but only because he's a really good shot.
There's that. Yeah.
There's that. I mean, I've had, my one experience with Dave where he destroyed me on a trail run. Dude's really fit. I don't care what anybody
He's very
says.
fit.
He's a good runner, man. He smoked me on a trail run, then high-fived me like I was just so sad. Came in like 8 minutes behind him. He even fell. Like, he fell on the run. He still beat me by like 8 minutes.
Very fit
But
guy.
and it's kind of the same experience that you described, like really smiley, friendly, high-fiving everyone, super positive, like, a lot of good stuff there. He was a really good coach in the session, for whatever that's worth. Like, I was really impressed at how well he explained the workout and what we were doing. But with all that said, like, the CEO's job is a much different job than anything else. Now, I think he's got a lot of stuff in his favor. He was a Navy SEAL, it's about the hardest job on the planet, and
Yeah,
you certainly learn a lot about leadership as a Navy SEAL. So gigantic props to him in that
totally.
regard. And he has been the director of the CrossFit Games, which is not a tiny little job. So it's not
No.
like he's been over here, running HQ's gym for the last 10 years. He's been running a pretty big gig.
Well,
So
and he was in training too, in the
yeah.
training department.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is his world. This is his life. His
Yeah.
whole mission is to get the sport of fitness to a spot where we all love it, care about it, want to watch it, want to participate. Really?
Yeah, I think the on the opposite end of that, though, there are some red flags. Like, the CEO job is a much harder job. It is a more inclusive job than anything he's had before. It's also a more highly criticized job than everything he's had before. And
Oh, I think he can take it.
I think Dave has a history of not taking criticism very well. Whether he takes it personally well, I can't say, but the persona that he's put off over the years of blocking people that disagree with them, and like even that fight with Pat, that was funny, but kind of salty about the programming, which is fine when you're the director of CrossFit Games. When you're running a corporation and you're talking to shareholders and stockholders and potential investors and whatever, like, you gotta have thinner skin or thicker skin. That's not an indictment of him. I really like him. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm just saying, like, the CEO's job is a different job, and that's a skill that he may potentially have to learn on the fly.
I
He may,
guess.
he may never have to learn it. I don't know. I've seen a lot
Right.
of I've seen a lot of CEOs in my career, over 25 years in banking, and it's a needed skill for the
I
job.
guess just given the way that we have seen Greg Glassman as a CEO conduct himself in the past, I guess I just feel like I just feel like Dave will. I don't know. We've had, like, I hear what you're saying in terms of, like, maybe in the past he's
Yeah.
not presented himself, like he seems like he hasn't taken a criticism well or something, or his response was not measured the way like the CEO of a company's could be measured. He just kind of like responds like a human, or like
Yeah.
a
Just like
guy who,
Greg. Just like Greg.
I don't
That's
know
the
if
point.
I guess it doesn't feel the same to me. It doesn't
Well,
feel like Dave. I don't know. I don't really know.
I'm not saying it is the
Cut this
same,
out.
Nikki.
I don't know what I'm
No,
talking
there's
about.
no reason to cut it out. Like, I made this point last night. People are really kind of got heated about this, and I think it's a legitimate question that the affiliates coming back. I'm only thinking of the affiliates that I want to bring back. My end game be really clear in this. I want all 1,250 affiliates back under the fold.
Same,
I do not
same.
want CrossFit to fold. Like,
No, no.
I cannot be clear about that. So my point to this is you need somebody that's measured and isn't Greg, right? That he has to be the anti-Greg in order to make that happen. So the question I'm asking, I asked yesterday and pissed a lot of people off, is tell me what's going to be different, because what I see on the outside isn't different. It's not to say he won't be different. I think Dave's a brilliant dude. I think he's super smart. The one interaction I had with him was great, other than him kicking my ass, but everybody I know that knows him raves about him.
Yeah,
So none of this is me going, he's a jerk, he's not going to be able to get the job done. My point is he's got to come out early and show that he's different
sure.
and prove to these 1,250 affiliates why it's going to be worth their while to come back under the fold.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Anyone stepping into that role would have to do that.
but he doesn't have a lot of time to do that. That's the point. And he isn't just anyone. He's a close insider,
Hmm.
groomed by Greg. Like, if we've seen anything in the last week, I can't hammer this enough. I mean, I know I'm getting my soapbox, so I'm sorry, but if I've seen anything, is that the perception of what it is becomes what it is.
Hmm.
And the perception right now is he's a close insider, groomed by Greg, worked at HQ this whole time, like, and Greg still lives in Santa Cruz. Like, he's got to come out and do something different. I think he will. So again,
I don't know anything about how HQ works. I just do the interviews on the sideline for the broadcast, and which is funny because I feel like the most trolling I've had recently has been like people being like, "You were in HQ and you blah blah blah." You know how many people thought that I was Nicole Carroll? What?
so let's just say thanks.
Yeah, I friggin' wish. My
She's
God,
awesome.
she's the best. But yeah, I don't know anything about how HQ works, but I don't get the vibe that Dave is groomed by Greg. I don't get that vibe at all. I get the vibe that they're way different on opposite sides of the plane, where like Greg wanted to like not have any elite sport of fitness and cancel that completely and focus on health and do whatever. And Dave was the one trying to keep that alive for us.
I,
That's
I,
the vibe that I got, but I don't
I'll
know.
concede that they certainly have had their differences, but they also are close friends. Like, that's my point.
You
It's like, I think
think?
last time I saw them, they were hugging in an embrace.
Oh,
I don't know. If I didn't like you,
I
I
don't
would.
know. Who knows?
Yeah. Again, like, none of this is an indictment of anything. Like, it's not, none of that's bad. It's
Yeah.
not even bad to be, a good example of that, in banking. No one's going to know what the fuck I'm talking about. Jamie Dimon, who runs JP Morgan Chase, was groomed by, I forget his name, but he ran Citibank, and they had a huge falling out. Right.
Hmm.
And Jamie Dimon, but they were, he was groomed by him, and he ended up well exceeding anything that his mentor ever did. Like, Jamie Dimon is like a rock star in banking. So you can be groomed by someone doesn't mean you're going to be them. You can end up being infinitely better.
Yeah.
And I could probably give you 3 or 4 other stories where the opposite of that happens. Like, he's going to be his own guy. I just hope he moves into the role very quickly and understands that the role of CEO oftentimes is to de-escalate. It's a communication job, not a doing job. Like, the director job, I think, is often a doing job in a lot of ways. And a
Interesting.
lot of the roles he has had in that CEO job is really, it's not about doing the execution yourself. It's about getting other people to do it, setting a good vision for the company, getting the right people together, knowing who those people should be.
Hmm.
And knowing that you're not going to have control over it. You get the best people to do the work, and
Right.
they report it back to you. And I think the guy's brilliant. He was a Navy SEAL. Like, they teach these guys leadership and teamwork. Like, if he can
Yeah.
apply those methods without killing
Totally.
somebody, he'll be fine. But I really like him. I really do. I know a lot of that sounded like criticism. I would have said all that if he were on the air with us, and I hope he's listening and comes on the air with us. But
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
I know, if anybody listening knows Dave, tell him we'd love to have him on here.
And we
Big
would
fan.
love that.
That would, I
Same.
know.
Maybe, I don't know. Again, like more questions and answers, and we're just discussing things that no one really has like any inside information about. But maybe it's because I'm like the eternal optimist. I mean, you know me. I kind of just like, I want I want the apology to be the first step in the right direction. And Dave steps in as CEO and he just does a kick-ass job. Affiliates come back. The big names in CrossFit feel good about coming back and competing. And then we can all just fitness really, really fast together. That's what I want.
Here's the problem. Now we're hearing rumblings though of, other affiliate owners now trying to band together and create, whatever affiliate
Whatever you
blocks.
want to
So
call it.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
just call it a block. I saw a couple of posts from different people today, and so
Yeah.
that's going to become a very big issue quickly if they don't get
Yeah.
out in front of it. And I hope why we're getting some silence right now is they're working the phones, and that's likely what they're doing. But I worry about that because some of these gyms that left, like Khalipa is a great example. That dude is a great dude.
Mm-hmm.
He is a brilliant businessman. He's been running multiple units, like, dozen of CrossFit gyms, or NC Fit is his,
NC Fit. Yeah.
for some time. And, does this little coffee with Khalipa, a little,
Mm-hmm.
little podcast, and people love it. And he just imparts wisdom, and he's also just like a really terrific human being,
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And so you find somebody like that everybody loves and respects, and he goes, "Hey, you 20 affiliates, come with me." It'd be hard to say no to that guy, if
Yeah.
you love him.
Yep. And he's now, what you're talking about is he's offering sort of an affiliate program to be NC Fit gyms. And we've seen that sort of in the past for gyms that, or for organizations that do programming, right? So we've seen it like you could be your own gym, but you could do like Misfit programming, for example, and be like part of the Misfit umbrella. So I wonder if those gyms end up making also like affiliate programs, or like they just kind of like absorb these other gyms that have been on the sidelines of maybe getting involved with them in one way, shape, or form. I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe. I mean, I've heard rumors of a couple other people kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
that's kind of what you were talking about on our last show, where you were like, there's never just one conglomerate. Like
Right.
there's never just one thing. Like there's a million places to get coffee. There's a million places to, do this kind of training, and maybe they're not all called the same thing, but we can still all do it together. And I don't disagree. I liked when we all were CrossFitters, like, I don't want to be a CrossFitter, but you're like a fit fitter and someone's like a X fatness, or I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, I just don't want to, like, I want us to just all do the same thing and hug hands and sing.
I don't want to run 4 meme pages. I don't want to have another one that make him NC Fit great again. And, you know,
We don't have time for this, people. Come on.
I don't have time for this. Not at all.
And that is a lot of what people were asking. Like when we both asked for questions on Instagram, and I know we're not going to have time to do all of them, but a lot of the sort of like multiple repeat questions were about that, about like what is the future of this whole functional fitness thing? Like if it's not CrossFit, is it something else? And I really don't know. I mean, there's never going to not be something in functional fitness between the affiliates, or like whatever you want to call it, the gyms that do use this type of methodology, and the fact that there are plenty of professional events now.
So let me float a theory.
Okay.
It just literally just popped in my empty head.
All right.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if, let's just say Khalipa, again, who I respect and love, great dude, of those 1,200 affiliates, I'm going to say out loud, I hope he takes 500. And here's why. Like, take a big number, because when you have a competitor out there that's doing a really good job and they're kind of kicking ass, like I know Khalipa would do with 500 affiliates, and your affiliate's fee is coming up, they can make a choice. That forces you as a business to think more deeply about the value you're providing your affiliates, and it will force HQ to provide better service to what their affiliate members want. The competition almost always does that. That's why, by the way, when COVID hit, I started getting text messages from Verizon saying, "Hey, we're going to give you mobile hotspot now for free for the next month," because they know good and damn well AT&T was giving that out. And that's a fact. Like, competition will almost always spurn better things for that. So there's a little part, while I want everyone under the fold, I kind of want some competition there.
I understand where you're
to
coming
give
from.
incentive to HQ to just think about the small affiliate owner. Think of the gym out there with 60 members, barely getting by, needing to grow their business for the next 3 years so they can get profitable. They need HQ in their corner. And right now, at least from the affiliate members that reach out to me, they're not feeling that. And I think they
Mhm.
will feel that with a little competition. So that's how I would answer that question. We'll see. I'll probably get blown up for that shit, but
So will I. I'm gonna get hate mail for everything I've said tonight. But look, this is the thing, is like we're trying to just talk about all the different angles. At the end of the day, John and I, and pretty much I'm sure everyone listening to this, like nobody wants CrossFit to die. It's this thing that I love. It means so much to me. I just want it to be awesome. I want good people in place to help run it. I want gyms to do a good job. I want everyone to succeed. I want to like look halfway okay naked. Like I just want all these things, and it's time for a change to make sure that we're not alienating anyone. But
that's my dating bio. Looks halfway okay
halfway
naked.
okay naked.
Yeah, that's what it says.
I'll write it for you.
Give me another question. Another question.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Okay. Let's see. These are in like complete rando order. My brain has no way to file these now. If CrossFit dies, should another company buy the rights or just start something new?
Oh, well, first of all, it's not going to die. They got 13,000 affiliates. Even with the, let's just say 2,000 are gone, they still have
Right.
11,000 affiliates. It's
Right.
not going to die.
Well, I would say, first of all, it's not going to die. Second of all, a company can't just come in and buy the rights unless Greg wants to sell it, which I sincerely doubt.
Not dying.
Sincerely doubt either one of those first two things will happen. But
of all the things we talked about, this is the one I'm going solid on. Not going out of business at all.
Yes, good. I don't want them to. But in terms of another company starting something new, that's what I was starting to say about like there's a lot of professional events now, and I wouldn't be surprised if like Loud and Live runs a whole bunch of different events. Like they call them CrossFit events right now, or they did before they stepped away from HQ. What is to stop them from having this like circuit of functional fitness or whatever, insert name here, style competitions? I think that sort of is already in motion in terms of another company stepping in and starting something new.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Grid League failed, so like I don't put any stock in competitions actually making money and surviving. And when you look at other fitness, there's so many options now between Orange Theory and Chorus, and you could just list all the ones that people
What's
are going.
Chorus? I've never heard of that.
It's a thing here in Cleveland. It's like Pilates and yoga, and it's got some machine. It's crazy.
I would try it.
Yeah,
have you done Orange Theory before?
No, because it's running. Fuck that.
Oh yeah,
running.
I love Orange Theory. I think it is so fun. Well, it's not fun, but it feel good because I'll never like run like that on my own. But if someone tells me to run like that, then I'll push it.
If a jealous boyfriend wants to chase me like that, I'll do it. But otherwise, no. All right, next question.
Priorities.
Yes.
Okay, John. Wait, there was one I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, all these questions came from followers off of my Instagram, by the way. There's like 1,000 of them, and I think 900 of them were identical. They're all like, how's Bean? Bean's great, by the way.
Bean's great, yeah. Yes. Here's a good one. You talk a little bit about what our plans are moving forward. How do we as a community move forward in our own boxes to be more inclusive?
Oh, I have lots of ideas behind that. I was thinking about that today, actually. I mean, I think the boxes need help. I mean, Niki and I were talking today about hosting a regular series. I won't get too many details, but a regular series where we bring on diverse athletes, coaches, affiliate owners, whoever, and have them give tips on how to improving, diversity in your box. And that's, more than just color. It could be sexual orientation. It could be whatever, you just, pick your poison. But I think that something like that would be helpful, because that's certainly not something they're getting in their level one or their $3,000 affiliate fee, just another resource for affiliates. I think community involvement is important for the local boxes. I think they need to find local charities, groups, churches, whatever, and start reaching out. And like at work, we call it Credo time. My job, once a month, we just pick something, anything we want, and we give back to the community. And so sometimes we're, going to Habitat for Humanity and we're painting houses. Other times we're just dropping donuts off to first responders. During COVID, I had my entire team writing letters to seniors, and dropping them off. And that kind of giving, I think, builds a tightness amongst your group that would be good in a gym. But I think it also helps you meet people outside of your box and that goodwill starts getting spread around. So imagine if Nana gets a card from so-and-so at, CrossFit, wherever, and, her grandson comes in to see her and she goes, "Oh, I got this from there." And he's thinking about a gym. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, totally.
So there's certainly some things like that I think people can do.
All right, how about this one? 90% of my wardrobe still says CrossFit on it. Is it still acceptable to wear?
We don't wear shirts anyway. So,
Yeah, what do you mean? You don't wear that.
yeah, well, you could consider it old school, I guess, maybe if you continue to wear it. It's the people that have people have asked me that question about all the Reebok stuff. Like they're like, "Can I buy it all? Because it's now 2 for 1."
Is it now on sale?
It's
Yeah.
all on sale. Yeah, it absolutely is. And so
I know
yeah,
that's a joke question, but yeah, it's fine.
you can never have too much CrossFit apparel. I don't care whether the name's Six or not. You can never have too much.
Agreed. Um, this is something that I touched upon earlier, but I just want to note that someone wrote, "How strong is our community if we can't forgive ourselves?"
Oh, damn, that was deep.
I know.
Way to
And that's
bring
kind of
down
what
the
I was
mood,
saying.
Nikki.
Well,
Jesus.
I just want to bring it up because it's kind of what I was saying before about this whole, like, we're asking for an apology. We're asking people to step out and take the first step, whether it's right, wrong, perfect, not perfect, whatever. And if we can't learn to, I don't know, maybe not accept their apology, but take it as a positive step, then,
No, I think that's good. That's a good topic. I mean, I accept the apology for what it is, and I don't feel the need to forgive Greg as an example. Um,
okay.
yeah, I mean, I don't. Not that he hasn't asked for my forgiveness, but I don't feel that need necessarily. I want to know what's next. Like, okay, you apologize, great, high five, show me. I have a boss that she's kind of funny. She has all these slogans. She's like, "I'm from Missouri, which is the show me state. Just show me. Quit
Show me.
apologizing."
I like
And
that.
yeah, and so
Get it done.
yeah, so that's what I want to see. I think we can forgive. Like I could give you a dozen names of people that have said and done horrible things in their life and went on to be amazing people,
Totally.
both in the public, but they didn't do it by just showing back up. They went out and did something about it.
Here's a note. Can you mention all the volunteers who had planned their whole year around CrossFit? And there's like the crying face. I do feel
Oh,
really bad because those, like, the staff and the volunteers and the judges, especially, that like they spend their own money, they fly themselves around the world. We need them to put these events on. This is a big deal for them that they won't be able to do that this year. So my condolences to you guys.
I would tell them though, use that money for something else. We were in this room I'm recording in last night, and we were talking about the guitars that are in here, and my oldest daughter goes, "That's Daddy's CrossFit money," because they know I'm not traveling, so I'm buying guitars because I'm not going on all my trips.
There you
So
go.
yeah, use that
Embrace
money for
it.
something else. Donate it to somebody if you want to, like or do like me and buy guitars.
Will Greg be taking thrusters with him into retirement? Question mark.
God, I hope
Could
so.
he,
Could he take
please?
the assault bike? I would hope so.
That would be great. Thanks very much.
If that were Castro's first thing, his first edict as CEO is we're going to ban the assault bike, I will go all in. I would literally fly to Santa Cruz and just drive, gym to gym, singing his praise. Just ban the assault bike. That'd be
Okay,
awesome.
here's a good one. I travel tons. Now I've lost my wayfinder. Please discuss. So like if you travel a lot and you use CrossFit or the affiliate map to
Uh,
find gyms to drop into, like,
got you.
what happens now?
I
How do
guess
you
you're
know?
I guess you're screwed. Somebody asked me that today. They're like, "Well, they'll just put formerly known as CrossFit." I'm like, only if they want to get sued, they will. Like, CrossFit has a long history of suing people that use the term CrossFit that
Right,
aren't affiliated. So
right.
that's a great question. I mean, it'll depend on what happens with if the branches that uh, are no longer affiliated, if they, let's say they go to a Kalipa or whatever, you'll have to have two or three different wayfinders and hope they allow drop-ins. They
Mm-hmm.
would.
Yeah, of course they would.
And again,
Of course they would.
there's 13,000 affiliates. Like I realized 1250 is a lot, but it's not. There's still 11,000 affiliates. So
Yeah. Let me end with one question that I have that sort of is spawned from all this, which is, do you think there's a chance that these affiliates come back? Like, if these changes continue to happen in a way that is meaningful, because obviously we don't know yet, like we've talked about before, like, Dave stepping in as CEO, we still have no idea what it means. We don't know who has control, we don't know how. But if assume that changes still happen, good changes that we as a community approve of, Do you think that the affiliates come back, or in a sense, has the damage been done?
100% certainty they all want to come back. No doubt.
Really?
No doubt in my mind. 100%.
Okay.
They all,
Explain.
nobody wanted to leave CrossFit. Everyone loves it. The first rule of CrossFit is always talk about CrossFit. None of them wanted to leave. No one wanted to leave. No
Yeah,
one.
but like some of them took such a strong stand.
As they should have. God bless
Yes, I
them.
agree. I agree. I just think it's hard to come back from.
Um, Not if you've been heard. So
Okay.
they left because they didn't feel they were being heard, as they should have. Like, that was their stance, and they're like, all right, I'm out of here. Well, once they've been heard, if it's been corrected, they would have no reason at that point to be stubborn and not come back. And
Well, I just think that if NC Fit and Invictus and these other big, well-known CrossFit companies don't come back, which they won't because now they're trying their own affiliation thing,
sure.
I think that some affiliate owners look up to them and would say, like, if they're not going back, I'm not going back.
Well, no argument there. I guess I'm not saying that they all will come back. I'm saying they all want to come back. That doesn't mean they all will.
Okay.
They're still business owners. I mean, I like you, Niki, but if I get a better offer, sorry,
No
and
way.
you should too. You
Oh
gotta.
no, I never would leave you. Come on.
Yeah, see, it's easy for you to say
No.
that because I went first. I tell the people that work for me, I say this all the time. Maybe I'm just a stupid boss, but when people quit and they're like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to leave you. I'm like, why are you apologizing? You should always do what's best for your family. 5 years from now,
Right.
you're not going to remember who I am. Like, go do what's best for you. Live your life. Be happy. Like,
Yes.
so if they want to go with Kalipa or Bergeron or whoever the hell's going to have an affiliate map, like, be happy. That's the only thing that everybody should come out of this from. And the truth is, it's like, let's just hypothetically say none of them come back, and now you've got CrossFit and two other competitors. Do any of us believe for a second that these people that we've known for all this time that love us, when we come to their gym and go, hey, can we drop in, they go, oh, no, you're a CrossFitter, you're not allowed an NC Fit? Absolutely
No,
not.
of course not.
They're
Of
going to
course
welcome
not.
us with open arms and say, come
Yes,
in, we'd
I
love to
know.
have you.
I
Give us
know.
$25 and buy a t-shirt.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
so I think the bulk of them want to come back. Whether they will or not is, I don't know, it's up for grabs, so we'll see.
I think the moral of this story is wait and see what happens, and everybody just don't be a dick.
I can't go that far because I'm a dick often.
No, you're not. Not in real life.
I don't know, man. I keep getting roasted every day on this page. Everybody's like, you're ginning up all this to build your page, or you're just stirring up anger. And I'm like,
You're
yes,
like, are you new
yes,
here?
it's a satire page. Satire creates questions. That's what I'm trying to do. I want people to ask the right questions, and to explore them and to understand like why things are the way they are, and see if our voices will be heard. And I don't know. So I can't promise I won't be a dick, but I am optimistic, and I am all in, man. I hope CrossFit survives this because
Me too.
I love me some CrossFit. Like I really do. Like I
Same.
obsess every day about my WOD like everybody else, and I complain about it every day, and I don't know. I can't get enough of it. So
Same. I'm the same way.
fingers crossed.
All right.
Yeah, I think I mean, with that, we'll wrap up, but there's more news coming. I mean, that's the only thing we didn't really talk about, and we won't get too much into it, but this isn't the end of it, guys. Like, things almost always get worse before they get better. And that's not a reason for anyone to get depressed or go, oh my God, what's coming? Don't worry about any of that. Like, it will resolve itself. It will get better. As more information comes out, we'll come back to you guys and tell you what we know, and covers that needs to be covered. And I'll make jokes about it. And Niki will apologize for me and get roasted on my behalf, and it'll be great.
I think just continue to be good to one another, and support your gym and whatever their decisions are, and try not to draw conclusions too quickly.
Yeah, don't lose faith, and
Yeah.
just love each other locally. That's really all you can do, right?
Right, but from 6 feet apart.
From 6 feet apart.
Right.
Yes. Maintain your social distance. Let the coach spray you down with sanitizer. That's what
Yeah,
they're doing at my
exactly.
gym.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, with that, we will wrap it up. Niki, fun as always.
Yes,
I'm
of
sure we'll be
course.
back tomorrow night when we have 10 more things to talk about.
Exactly.
For everyone listening, thank you so much. We genuinely appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been picking up and picking up and picking up, and we just love the fact that you guys are joining us on this journey. So thank you so much, and have a good night.